Now we're going to make a big plate with the straight walls, right? Okay, so this is a fair amount of clay, and so you wanted to hear about centering large amounts, clean and flat. Definitely make it on a bat. We can probably make it out to about here or so, but we'll find out.
Yeah.
So make it rounded. A plate. You can ask me things. So on large clay, you just want to make sure to smack it down really good, or you're going to have a lot of shaking. And then when you're trying larger amounts of clay that you haven't tried before, here's an idea. You're still going to do the coning up and coning down, but don't cone it up too soon, too tall. So let's say you do it in 5 pairs or 7 pairs of up and down. 1 through 3 only need to be little tiny changes and then back down. Because if you go too tall, you get a wrinkle in it that wasn't there, and then you have to work it out. So, and also start from a sort of a modest speed so that it's not moving too quickly. And so you're going to use the palms of your hands like you would normally. And this is the position for strength where your hands are at 9 and 3, and that might work. But if it doesn't, you're going to shift it from the 9 and 3 to like 7 and 2. So you can put your body weight behind your arm and move out. This is going to be more important the bigger amounts of clay you try. So this is just a little bit taller, right? And then the downward push, you have a sideways touch here, and you might make some kind of a roof here. Not necessarily a karate chop or that, because it tends to make a corner, which becomes inconvenient. So think of something that is curved, and what I've said before is imagine that the wheel machine is on rollers, and that I'm telling you to hold on to the top of the clay and push the machine itself away from your wheel, or from your chair, with the clay, and that's going to include a sideways pressure that we tend to leave out. Often your teachers are telling you to make the clay go down, and you're doing this kind of thing, which is half correct. You want to add motion from your chair. So I'll do this a little bit more.
I have a question. What does the pushing away do?
Just then, or what I'm doing right now?
No. You said imagine that it's
Yeah.
on a roll.
I'll show you. I'll show you. So this is taller. When your teachers have been telling you to then cone this back down, right? You do all kind of different hand things, but in general, people are trying to do some kind of motion that only comes from the ceiling.
Okay.
And it does get shorter, but it tends to be uncontrolled here at this edge. And so my idea is that you need to push more from the chair also, not only from down, and that's an angle. The angle comes down from your...
Got it.
And so the concept of it is that if you were sitting in your chair and I told you to move the machine away from you, you would do this. You would just do it anyway.
But you're going down as well.
It goes down.
Oh, it goes down on its own.
Yeah.
Form. Okay.
It makes no sense, and when you try it.
Okay.
So now that I've done it a little bit, I can go taller and make it a little bit bigger, faster. And so the last thing I'll mention about really big amounts of clay is that when you're doing this, watch how much blue is exposed here. Our normal way of centering, which does perfectly fine for many things, you center the top and it squishes down into here. This doesn't change much. You're pushing mostly shorter. This did change some, but it didn't change a lot. When you have new, bigger amounts of clay, you must make this change much more than that, or that clay isn't changing. It's not being affected. So the way to do that is to grab more of the clay and push more sideways, and I'll show you how to make sure that happens. Look now where the thing is, here, and I'm going to leave my hands here and push outward, and you're going to see this part move out a good bit.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I'm adding sideways pressure, and the only reason we bother is that that's where a lot of the mass is on the big new mounts, which is hard to center. So you might add that into your process. Now too flat, and then you can't drag it back in. You know,
Right.
there's a limit to that.
Right.
Okay.
Now, do you know what you're gonna make?
Oh yes.
Oh,
This is going to
what
be
are
a
you
big.
gonna-
This is going to be a big flat plate with straight walls.
Okay.
So the way I make plates is not to drop a hole and pull it open because I find it gets lost. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start flattening this with a restraining order on this edge so that it doesn't become weird. And that's going to be a flattening push from the right hand, and this here is holding it. Now this you can go out to as thin as you want the wet plate to be. Leave yourself trimming probably, so that's probably about an inch. Now, it's getting bigger than my hand is wide, so what do? You can have
Stick.
a stick, or you can take your hand and pull it towards you. Now a bonus tip is let this stay thick because this is going to be an edge. What tends to happen when we practice is that we're pulling towards you and it becomes thinner, and then you don't have any clay left over for the rim. And so this is a flat part, and I am pulling outward a little bit like this as I go and stopping at the edge. This doesn't have to be attractive yet. Oh, can I have the little round sponge? Thank you. So another way that people make this flatter is to use a thumb. So if you take your thumb like this and use its curve here and bear down on this, that is another way to have pressure on the surface and bring it out. And then yet another way is where you use the sponge here, and that can help with water. So you're going to do this kind of a move. Now there's a trap. So when you're moving this and you're squeezing it out like this, the trap that you can get into is that you're moving too quick, and the leading edge of this forms a little wave. Now nearer to the end of the plate, you may want that because you know plates have that, right? That little edge, but
Yeah.
not this early. And that's because you're moving the thing too quick, and ahead of you there is nothing. So you might want to broaden the sponge touch and have it, your push is more distributed over the sponge so that doesn't happen. And with all of those things, you're going to get some kind of unique flat thing. And if you don't want the ridges, you can move your finger away from you like this.
That's beautiful.
So we want a plate now that's got walls. So now we're going to take this part. Oh, I didn't even show you this. So you can use large ribs like this to finish off the compressing. Compressing is very important.
To prevent cracking, right?
No cracking, yes. And what you'll notice is that if you draw a line from the center to your right knee and think of that as a path, if you have the tool angled on the thing in that pathway, the clay is going to hit the tool and go to both sides of it. Some is going to go just in, and some of it is going to go out. If you hold it like this with respect to that line, it's mostly going to go in, and you might get a little bump here, which sometimes people see. So if you're going to angle it all with respect to this line as it spins, you're going to angle it like that, so that as you're going out, the clay is clearly, the clay knows.
And you're using the curved part of the rib, not the flat.
Yes. Because this,
That
I dig
I
the
would-
corners in
Oh.
by accident.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want corners
Okay.
yet.
Okay.
And so now that that's been compressed, then you can deal with the edge. And if you have a bigger bat, I suppose you could go even further. So I like to get underneath this and then raise it like a wall, like a little cylinder. And so this push is going to be right here at the wheel head. Right. Oh, what I didn't say is sometimes the edge of this is weird now. Cut it off with a needle tool, do something to it to make it even, and then go on. So I'm holding a little restraining order on this thing so it doesn't fly up too quickly. And I do use a sponge because it's wet and because it minimizes friction. And so I suppose you could go fairly far in, but I'm only going to go in this far. And now this becomes a throwing effort I'm gonna go back out a little bit. And so, do you mean literally straight up and down?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is a cylinder, only made weirder by the fact that now it's so big, and so all of your throwing stuff works here as well. But be gradual. Yeah. And so usually at this point, you have a stronger opinion about how that needs to change. Like you could go in with this here, you could go in with that, and fix it, or you could fix this.
How thick do you think the bottom is?
I don't know, get a pointy tool.
Like quarter, like half an inch or like?
Not much.
Well,
That. Not much.
Yeah.
It didn't have to be this thin, I don't think.
You could have
It could be thicker, but we'll see in a moment how to do the wire. And so, to finish it off, if you have an opinion about this shape, you can take the tool. Well, you can take the tool if you have an opinion about that. That I like to clear off. There's often a call for a little bit of decoration. But that would probably do. It got a little wider because I wasn't paying attention. If you wanted it straighter sided, you could have it. And in fact, I'm just going to make this a little bit curved because I kind of like it curved. I kind of like it curved
Yeah.
because your serving spoon can get in there.
Thank you.
And so the last bit will be to prepare this for running the wire underneath. I make this more clean with the tool. And then this is usually in the way. And is there a wire? I don't have anything with me. Ah, thanks. So when you have really wide forms, you want to be careful. And so one layer of being paranoid is to pull the wire underneath the inch that is farthest away from you and let that go all the way around.
Good idea.
Because this is where your arms are strongest, and then pull up. And then everything follows from here, the drawing and all of the other.
Do you undercut always like that before you do the wires? That would make
This
sense.
I made more neat because I know when I trim it, if this is a neat circle, it'll be easier. I like to.
Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
to. Because sometimes the bottom of your piece has a lot of
Yeah.
stuff. Right. But it wasn't necessarily for the wire.
Okay.
And that's it. So thank you.
Beautiful.
I hope it
Thank
helped.
you.
You're welcome.